All right, what's up? What's up? Welcome to Poly with us. What's going on, Heem? How you feeling today?
I'm good, man. I'm just getting over these allergies. Season's changing. It's warmer down here now, and I'm getting over my allergies. I'm also a year older, yay! And here we are.
Happy belated.
Thank you. How you
I ain't
doing?
even, I'm good. I'm not even gonna ask your age. You know what I'm saying?
Washed,
Yeah,
a little bit overwashed.
wash. Yeah, like I had a youngin I was discussing battle rap with. He's like 20. Like yo, he made it seem like I was like 50 or something. He's like,
Yeah.
he's like, but yeah, because it's an older battle rapper that's like in their mid 40s, and he battled like a younger battle rapper. He's like, yeah, you close to his age, right? You
Oof.
like dude's like 44. He's like, yeah, you old, right? You like, ain't you like 38 or something?
Ain't you like 38 or something? Damn.
uh, well, like not quite. That's I'll be 37 next month, but I like that's not really that old. I guess to a 20-year old is like
Yeah.
it's old. I was like, it's not really that old. I'm still pretty young. Yeah, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. What's
hmm
going to age me is these politicians. They're gonna put years of stress
Word.
on me. I tell you, and not just because I'm into the theater, but this is real policies right here that they not getting right.
hmm
So there's a bunch of different places we can start. But me and Fa talked about this yesterday, but it's only right because you actually live in the city of DC, right?
hmm Yeah.
So um, it's only right that I ask your opinion on DC statehood actually getting through the House of Representatives. I mean, it's not the first time it got through the House,
hmm
but what's different is they actually discussing it in the Senate. Are
hmm
you hopeful that this could get passed this session?
Am I hopeful? Yes, I'm extremely hopeful that it'll get passed. Just like I am anytime it gets it gets out of the house, like it did. I think last year too. I think it got voted out of the house. But anytime that's up for discussion, heck, I'm hopeful. I know that our delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton, she's been saying that this is a good chance this year it's going to happen. So based on just saying it's a good chance it's going to happen, I know Biden's in the White House has endorsed this. I know that a lot of the Democratic establishment are endorsing this. So am I hopeful? Yes. But there's that big roadblock that lives in West Virginia, that lives in Arizona, secretly lives in Virginia as well. That are very opposed to not necessarily DC getting the statehood, and this is one thing that we talk about a lot, and we talk about this podcast a lot, and you just think about it in general. But uh, politicians are very much like in the moment. What do we like they say like in the moment dick riders, but like
Right.
they're very much in the moment, so they don't see like the long term for a lot of their stuff. They only see how it's going to affect their power or their votes. And when I mentioned that guy in West Virginia, or the lunatic in Arizona being impediments to this. I bring that up because they're only thinking about their slim majority and them being able to wield a lot of power now with that slim majority. And because of that, though I'm hopeful and maybe it's possible, it's tough for me to like see it actually happening, because of those two in particular seeing their influence and power getting snatched away from them by having two more senators that are probably going to be Democratic in the state of DC. So that'll be it. And when you can't filibuster your way out of this, or you don't have enough votes for the filibuster to override it, and that's not on the horizon right now at all. It's tough to like. I'm hopeful, but I'm not optimistic about it. If that makes sense.
Uh,
We'll see.
yeah, I hear you. I want to wait and see what they do for the People Act
hmm
because that's one piece of legislation that they desperately not even just want to pass, but they need to pass in order for Democrats to have any chance of keeping the House. Is already not looking good with the census.
hmm
Just by the new census, if nothing changed, the Democrats already lost the House.
hmm
Just with the seat changes, with the census, states like New York, California lost seats. A lot of Republican districts, and what I think Montana
Yep.
gained a seat, what North Carolina gained a seat, and that don't necessarily bad because North Carolina does have a lot of Democrats, but they have a Republican legislator, and those are the ones who draw the districts. So
Hmm.
if everything is equal right now, without doing anything, the House is already lost.
Hmm.
So on top of that, all these state legislators, Republican controlled legislators, then pass all these voting restrictions
Hmm.
all across the country. I know Georgia getting the most coverage, but it's not just Georgia; it's all
Hmm.
over the country. So I think the Dems know that they need to pass the For the People Act and voting reform, right? But does somebody like Manchin care? I know the other Dems do because they do want to keep the House. I'm sure Nancy Pelosi want to keep her power.
Hmm.
The thing is, I want to see is will other Democrats actually put pressure on Manchin, on Cinema, and I think some pressure could work because remember, Manchin got in a hissy fit when Kamala Harris went to West Virginia that one time, and he did not like that at all.
Hmm.
Because what they was proposed was actually popular in West Virginia.
Hmm.
So I so far haven't seen no action or any type of plan to get Manchin on board. I don't know if they have some type of backdoor deal where they say, okay, we're going to get rid of the filibuster just for this one act and bring it right back. I don't know, but I know the Dems need to pass that act.
Hmm. I
So
agree. I agree. So you think that the DC statehood's going to be held off until later on after the vote for the People Act and stuff, or are you saying that just kind of like clarify that for me a little bit?
well, For the People Act is the one that we know for sure that they want to pass.
Hmm.
Um, the DC statehood is not as much talk about it. Yes, it'd be nice. It'll be two more Democrats in the Senate, but that don't necessarily affect some of these other politicians' livelihood and their chances of reelection. These voting restriction laws do actually hurt certain Democratic politicians. So it's a little bit different. We know for sure that's a bill that almost all Democrats want just because it directly affect them. So if they
Hmm.
don't get rid of the filibuster, they don't find a way to pass the For the People Act, there's no way they're going to pass DC statehood.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
The For the People Act in priorities rank above DC statehood just because for these politicians, like I said, directly impacts them. So that's what I want to see happen. Because we all know DC statehood or For the People Act have no chance to pass them without doing something with the filibuster because you can't go
Hmm.
through reconciliation with these particular bills.
It's not budgetary stuff. Yeah.
Yep. So that's what I want to see. And you just informed me that Schumer put a limit of August
Right.
on, right. So I I want to see what happens. I want to see if any pressure is starting to put on Manchin for the People Act, and I definitely want to see what happens when it comes to that. So you
I
notice,
just. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
because you notice, Schumer put a timetable on For the People Act, but he didn't put no timetable for DC statehood.
Right. Okay.
Go ahead.
That makes sense. Yeah. I just want to know what the plan is. Like you kept saying it. Like, what's the plan to get
It doesn't seem like they have one, do they?
and that's just another problem with the Democratic Party is that they don't really have a plan on a lot of these things. It's
Right.
just kind of like winging it. I remember when RBG passed away last year, and they were all shouting to the rooftops like, "You can't do this," and we'll find a way to stop it. I remember Elizabeth Warren was going on TV saying, "We're going to stop this. Don't you see?" And they did absolutely nothing to stop it. So stop Amy Bear Comey's confirmation. So I don't know, man. I'm very much on like I'm hopeful on DC statehood because it's something that is really a civil rights issue. Just the fact
Yeah.
that you have a predominantly black jurisdiction that has no representation in Congress. That's absurd. And kind of feels
Well,
intentional.
it's not absurd. My man Tom Cotton said that y'all don't have loggers in y'all city, so y'all don't deserve to be a
Loggers.
state.
Got you. That makes sense. Okay.
Did you hear that?
No, I didn't hear that. That's wild.
You know your boy
Loggers.
Tom. You know your boy Tom Cotton in the Senate. He for those you don't know him, he's one of the worst senators in the United States Senate, by the way.
And a
And it's
racist.
a
A proud
yeah,
racist. Yeah, proud
and
racist.
and to say one of the worst, it's some bad senators. So to say he's one of the worst, that's saying
Hmm.
he's terrible. But he was arguing against DC statehood. He said that he was like, yes, technically, he said DC is not basically big enough to be a state. He said,
Hmm.
yes, the population is bigger than Wyoming, but Wyoming have diversity of employment. They have loggers, they
Got
have
you.
more blue collar workers, a bunch of dog
Got you.
whistles, basically.
Got you.
So DC, y'all don't have loggers, so
You need
you
loggers.
can't be a state.
Got you. Got you. Definitely needed loggers to make up the state thing. Got you. Thank you, Tom Cotton. I
I'm
didn't
like,
know. I didn't know there's a constitutional requirement to have like loggers and stuff to be it, but yeah, I mean,
yeah, the point he was trying to make is the old dog whistle.
I know.
Like,
Yeah,
there's
I know.
not, which is crazy because let's give him that, right?
Hmm.
So, white collar workers is not Americans and don't deserve
No, they aren't.
representation.
They aren't. That's always the code word for the GOP is that white collar workers like himself, obviously. 'Cause I think it's like I believe he's
And their
graduate as well,
donors.
and owners, not
Mhm.
them, of course, but
Yeah,
you dumb poor white people, we got your back. That's kind of
right.
what he's always saying. So it's nonsense, but yeah, I think though that DC statehood it's kind of like a win more so than if conversation now, since it's like a lot. I don't know if it's gonna happen this term in Congress, but I think it's more of a win when it's gonna happen type of situation.
I don't know. You know what my fear is though? Not just with DC statehood, it's all these big issues rolled together. Whether
Mhm,
it's DC statehood, whether it's for the People Act, whether it's
mhm.
$15 minimum wage, health care, there's absolutely zero movement on a public option, which was one of his
Yeah,
camp. Zero movement.
which
What
wasn't even put in, which we'll talk about, but wasn't put in any of these infrastructure bills at all. So yeah.
the public option is already a compromise, but I'm willing
Hmm.
to because it's better than what we got now. No movement
Hmm.
on that. All these issues that we care about, police reform.
Hmm.
Um, if the Democrats don't do it this session with the census the way it is, I don't know when it's going to happen. And that's my fear because known Democrats, they do the wrong thing at the wrong time. I could see them get rid of the filibuster right at the end and then
Of
lose the
course.
House and nothing happens. Kind of like Harry Reid did with the Supreme Court nominee. They got rid of the filibuster for Supreme Court nominees right when they was about to lose the Senate.
Right.
But even if they don't do that, right? Um, yeah, the House is going to be a task to win the House in 2022. And even if Democrats get more votes, because Democrats get more votes in the House
Every
almost
year.
by
Yeah.
millions of votes. But
Yeah.
because of the gerrymandered districts, Republicans can keep it close or either control the House. And like we just mentioned with the census, it's not looking good. The Democrats is going to have to go against history and outperform the first congressional election when they win the presidency.
Hmm.
Historically, it's a tough election. So if they don't get it done now, are they going to get it done in 2024? Who knows what the landscape? We assume we can't assume that Democrats are going to win in 2024. We
Right.
can't assume that the Democrats are going to control both branches of Congress in 2024. On top of that, we already have a conservative court that when anything conservatives are going to challenge everything that happens.
Yeah.
So right now, because we didn't play the long game, we're in a tough position. And right now is the time where we have to pass some of these laws.
The only thing that I will say that's like a big advantage that Democrats have, at least for next year's election, is that like Joe Biden is actually like weirdly very popular, which is kind of weird for
Mhm.
a president even during the first like 100 days. Like usually, like they start waning a little bit. I remember President Obama's ratings was like in the 40s or in the 40s around this time when he was president, and Trump never really got that high ratings period. So that's the only thing I would say is like kind of an advantage for Democrats going forward. What does that mean for down ballot races? I don't know right now, but you're right. You're 100% right, man. Like you're supposed to come in running and striking while the iron's hot right now, while you have these like advantages. And outside of that big the big stimulus package in March, they haven't really done much to really stem any of the issues that are going on in this nation and the things that we need to not even for advantages for the Democratic Party, but just advantages for Americans in general. Like for the People Act, even if you want to say it's like help Democratic people or candidates, the reality is it's good for all Americans to be able to have voting rights restored and all this stuff. So yeah.
So Republicans is basically trying to go back to Jim Crow era.
Yeah, that's what they want. That's what they want.
And it kills me. Like, I would respect them more. Just say, yeah, I want it that way. Mm-hmm. Whenever you call them out on their racism, they try to act like, no, we know y'all racist. Like just come out, just admit it. It's not even like nobody even buying it no more. Yeah. like everybody can see these dog whistles now. So it's like, come on, don't even play the game.
And what's dark is that because the Democratic leadership are so keen on being friends with people, they won't say it themselves. You know what I mean?
And that's the problem.
Yeah. They want to be friends, and you gotta realize you can't be friends with people that don't see you as human beings.
But that gets us into another subject when it comes to Manchin and the Democratic strategy. Online progressives and progressives with Congress, it's a little disconnect right now, and both sides have points. I think the online progressives a lot of times are unrealistic and overreact. But they do have some points on certain issues. I would like to see a better strategy coming from progressives.
Oh, yeah.
Something like Manchin, right? Manchin willed in power. What is the strategy to make him go back on his, at least make him reform the filibuster, because he was open to that. How are we going to put pressure on him? You can't count on Nancy Pelosi. You can't count on Chuck Schumer or Biden to do that. They are moderates and they get along with Manchin. So the progressives in Congress, they need to wield power. Now, where I disagreed with the online progressives, and I think you was with me on this, I didn't think the American Recovery Plan was the right bill to do that with the stimulus, because people wanted that money immediately and they need that money immediately. And I think just the public relations, they would have lost that. They would have lost that fight. So I don't think that was, even though I won the $15 minimum wage as well, I don't think you could have won the public relations in that particular bill. But what I would like to hear was some type of plan for the progressives, because I haven't heard nothing about the defense authorization bill and what are they planning to hold up that legislation for specific provisions. Like, that's what I want to hear. What are they planning to do?
Yeah, I agree, man. Like it doesn't seem like it just doesn't seem like, it seems like we're kind of falling back into that 2009 period when and it's not that we think that things are going to be okay, but it's just more so like it's not the same kind of thinking, but it's more so like we've gotten Trump out, so that's enough for us. And it feels like a lot of, like, even this week, I know it was clipped and misconstrued, but Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez saying that Biden is done way more for progressives than one more progressive stuff than we even had thought as a progressive. And it's not necessarily that she's wrong about that, because she's probably is right. But if you're trying to step up and get power in your party, you gotta push it a little more against stuff. You gotta be more vocal about stuff. You gotta start figuring out how to strategize. You can't rely on, quote unquote, Mama Bear, when Mama Bear insults you with her biography. You can't you can't rely on that anymore. You know, these aren't your allies if you want to get things really done. And I feel like, and I agree with you too. Like, I think that the online progressives have a point that these people have gotten in there and are kind of like getting comfortable with these people when you've got to start, like, you know, like you said, wielding your power. There are 95 people in the Congressional Progressive Caucus. It's not amazing numbers, but 95 Congress people is a significant amount of people that you can start wielding some power over. And right now, we haven't seen much of that at all.
They don't even need the 95 because the Dems only got a 2-vote majority in the House.
Exactly.
You only need a few. You only need a few progressive House members. And the AOC, the comment itself don't bother me because I actually feel like Biden has been better than I thought, but that don't mean he's good because my expectation for Biden was barely off the ground. Like, I had extreme low expectations. So have he passed those? Yes, but that still make him below average president for me personally. But yes, he has been better than what I initially thought he was going to be. Good, but we still need policy to pass. And I think one of the problems in the progressive community, and this is where the conservatives have the advantage, there's only a few issues that conservatives really care about. It's the culture wars and it's tax cuts, basically. Those are two things. All things about the culture war, tax cuts, it is easy. With us, we have so many different competing groups that interests don't necessarily align. Remy the Cat always got to make an appearance, you know.
What's up, Rem?
but yeah, we have so many subgroups that make up the Democratic Party itself, and then even amongst progressives that don't always get along. Like police reform. There's people that's for police reform that's not for immigration reform. You have people that's for immigration reform that's not for reparations. You have people that's for reparations that's not for Medicare for all. And it's so on and so on and so on. What really struck me, I seen an interview with Cori Bush, right? And she was on CNN and she was asked a great question. She was asked, how come the progressives don't do what Manchin do? Because Cori Bush says she's refusing to compromise when it comes to qualified immunity. And she shouldn't. Great on her for that. However, not all progressives is aligned with that. And let me see if you agree with me here. Like somebody like AOC, right? She's like, from what I've seen through watching her throughout her congressional career, she seemed to have almost no interest in foreign policy, right?
Yeah.
Her main focus seemed to be immigration, Green New Deal, and maybe Medicare for all as a third priority. But really, Green New Deal, immigration, you know, other type of progressive legislation. Like, yes, she shows support, but doesn't seem like she's passionate about it. Somebody like Ayanna Pressley, been a really good advocate for racial issues. She's pushing basically to lower the racial wealth gap, police reform, baby bonds, great. But some of the other progressive priorities like Medicare for all, I'm not saying she's against it, but it doesn't seem like that's where her passion at. It seemed like everybody have their own agenda, and you know that's what it is. I think that's why sometimes a disconnect between sometimes Black progressives and white progressives, because a lot of white progressives don't support reparations at all. You know, so it's, if we can, like, because even for stuff that I don't necessarily support, I could come together as if like, okay, I support you on that if you support my issue,
right,
with this, and it doesn't seem to be none of that.
Right. Yeah, it's a very it's strange how they're not like, there isn't much thought of like coalition building amongst these groups. For some reason they agree on stuff, but there isn't like that, what you're kind of describing is that horse trading, where you trade your votes. Like, all right, I'll vote for this if you vote for this, or I'll support this if you support this, or I won't vote for this. You join me not voting for this, and then we're gonna go ahead and try to get this thing that you want passed, and so forth.
Mhm.
It doesn't seem like there's a lot of that amongst the Democratic Party in general, but especially amongst progressives, and that's because being a progressive means different things based on where you're from, and that's something that that wing and that movement has to like figure out. What are there just isn't that one streamlined thing that these people can align with, and it's because like honestly it's because like if we had like a different type of government, like these people probably wouldn't even be in the same party. Even if they are progressives, they would be like in different parties in general, because they just don't all agree on the same things. Like somebody like Ro Khanna, for instance, like I he's a cool dude. I'm not dissing him, but I don't think police reform is necessarily on the top of his mindset considering his district. You know what I mean?
Silicon Valley.
Yeah, it's just not the top of his mindset for his constituents.
Right.
And so I think the issue really is that they have to be better strategically. I don't think they are, because I don't think that I think they just see themselves lumped into a group and see themselves as opposition, but there isn't like really a core strategy here, and because these people are also like really green, like a lot of them haven't been in DC that long. They don't really understand how Congress works. We talked about that with the online people, the online progressives. Like they definitely don't understand how this stuff works. They get on one person and say, why has this one person fixed these things? And it's like, well, there's more things that happen here than just one person can control. It seems like because these people have been in it for 2 or 3 terms at most, there isn't really much understanding of the backdoor movements and the machinations. And then the old progressives that were progressives that are like kind of gotten older now and have for some reason graduated towards moderate positions. They're not in that. They're not within that anymore either for some reason. So
right.
I think I just go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and even the online base, they suffer for the same type of issues that the progressives in Congress do, different alliances, because you got a lot of online progressives that be like, you guys support my issue right now. And we went through this during the Bernie campaign, and then we asked, okay, do you support reparations? No, I don't want to talk about that. Well, you're not supporting my issues. Exactly. And then like the same thing, kind of with some people, like, cause I'm progressive, but I am focused on Black specific issues. And I try to tell people that focus on Black specific issues too. These overall issues do hurt us as well. But some people in that camp that reparations are nothing, don't want to look at something like Medicare for all or free college. And even though Black people have higher student loan, Black people that go to college have a higher student loan debt than our white counterparts, and we will really benefit for debt forgiveness. And it's just like some of them like, I don't care, reparations first or nothing. It's like nobody really get it. Or then you have to force the vote crowd just be like, y'all wasted energy that's going to accomplish nothing.
Exactly.
So it's kind of frustrating.
It's exhausting, man. Like this is there just isn't one issue that people will coalesce around, because we're all within different realms, whatever. Like you mentioned earlier, Republicans will like coalesce around not even tax cuts now. Like there's stuff now that's not even working anymore, but they have guns and they have culture wars. And to be real, like this is gonna sound like very, very like dark and grim, but I feel like the Democratic Party and the Republican Party have agreed to like just have that battle, versus like having a battle about like stuff like Black issues, stuff like not Black issues in terms of like saying the correct pronouns or referring to them as like African Americans and stuff and not being racist. I'm talking about like, Black people need these resources in their communities. Including reparations. I don't think that these I feel like both leaderships of the parties are comfortable like having a culture war debate instead of having a debate on real things that matter to people.
It's right. They both like it's like if you watch the Hunger Games, they pick different candidates to support, or contestants to support. because the resources right now, everybody in the group and everybody want their specific group to get a certain resource, and people feel like it's a threat if another group get a resource first.
Hmm.
So that's just kind of where we at right now. But if you're a member of Congress, theoretically, you should be beyond that and be able to strategize, right? If you in Congress, online left people, online people's online people, but you
Hmm.
actually have real positions of power, and it's
And you can see
unfortunate.
people every day. You can talk to them, come to your office and
We
say, "Hey,
need
let's talk
people.
about this."
We need people like John Connors back, right? John Connors was somebody that supported reparations and supported Medicare for all. He
Hmm.
introduced both bills in the House, you know, and it is so rare to have people that can really speak on all aspects of the progressive issues, whether it's working class progressive issues, whether it's social progressive issues, you know, it's just so many different um, segments. And
Hmm.
like I don't like buying, but like what frustrates me is some progressives can't even acknowledge some of the good stuff that was in the last bill, the American Rescue Plan, especially the money that went to black farmers, the child
Hmm.
tax credit. Those was actually good pieces in that legislation. Um, they kind of just want to gloss over that and just act like no progress was made. I'm like, yeah, some progress was made. That was actually better than I expected the whole term of Biden administration to be. Just those
Hmm.
specific acts. That doesn't mean he's a good president because he's not, especially when you go to foreign policy. But we have to be able to acknowledge good pieces of legislation or good
Right.
aspects when we see it too, and build upon that. That way, we incentivize them to go a little bit further. You see this, Biden. You see this, congressional Democrats. The child tax credit is really popular. Why don't you make it permanent instead of just
Hmm.
making it for a few years, or better yet, why don't you do a UBI?
And what you're pointing out is why like Republicans fought so hard for so many years against universal health care, because they know that once you give that to people, they're not going to want that lose it. Like, yeah, you look at the UK right now. Like, UK, they have universal health care and they have like a government that's arguably uh more conservative than even our conservative government
Right.
fiscally. But they can't take healthcare away. They'll find a way to privatize it a little bit, but they can't take it away. And privatize it in terms of like contract stuff out, but they can't take it away because people lose their shit over it. You know, the Dems. That's why I said earlier that I think they're comfortable fighting the culture war because they don't want to push for that stuff either.
Mhm.
So, but what you're bringing up is important, and that these things that are passed now, like we mentioned a couple of episodes ago about how Biden's probably a better president, is probably doing a better job in his first so many days, and even now we're about a couple of days away from 100 days. He's done a better job than Obama did with only 50 senators on the side, whereas Obama had 50, I think 59 his first term, first 2 years.
Well, I disagree with that a little bit. I think so far, maybe domestically, but
Domestically, that's what I meant.
I still think Biden foreign policy is still a disaster. And yeah, Obama foreign policy wasn't great either, but I think Obama foreign policy was better.
Well, yeah, I was just speaking only on the domestic
Okay.
stuff, but
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, he in his first 100 days, he's probably been better than Obama was in his first 100 days on the domestic stuff.
Mm,
Uh, but this is progress. It's not like lightning speed progress like we want, but it is progress, and we have to start acknowledging that and start taking these things as victories and start selling this stuff as, hey, we got this. Let's get more. It's never like that. It's more like this all sucks because it's not everything I wanted all at once. And I'd really, you mentioned it just earlier. Like, I really wish that these people that are progressives in Congress start, like, just jumping on popular stuff and saying, let's do more of this stuff. Let's advocate more for this stuff. And it doesn't seem like that's the strategy either. Like,
right.
it'd be smart if they did like their email campaigns, excuse
Hmm.
me, with like these Congress members saying how much this is going to impact you. Like, if like you got an email from Justice Democrats or whatever Democratic left wing movement, whatever, saying that this is important, this is going to help you in this bill, and let's now try to do more of this. Let's do more. We can always do more. It's never like that. It's always like, this sucks and, target this person. You gotta, you gotta start seeing these things as victories, even if it's not like 100% a victory. It is a victory, and this will
Yeah.
help people. And you got to start seeing things from that lens, so that this is helping people.
Yep. And what do you think about them splitting up the infrastructure bill?
Uh, I don't understand it, and I didn't understand at the time. We talked about this when the first bill was dropped, that it isn't doing enough. And they were saying, well, this is going to be a part two, and part two isn't really that much either. And splitting it, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but it doesn't really seem like it made sense, and it made it seem like they were that interested in passing this bill.
It
I,
doesn't.
yeah, these are
Yeah.
things you criticize Biden on. Yes, I don't
Right. Because
understand it.
just to pass one infrastructure bill is going to take a tremendous amount of political capital.
Hmm.
And trying to do two, along with trying to like pass the For the People Act,
Hmm.
um, I really don't understand splitting it up unless they really don't want it to pass. That's the only thing I can think of, because it literally makes no sense. Why wouldn't you just package it all in one bill through reconciliation? That way, um, if Manchin vote against it, he'll be voting directly against infrastructure money coming to West Virginia. Same thing with
Hmm.
cinema.
Hmm.
With this, even though the part two would help West Virginians, it would help Arizona's, especially because the part two of the infrastructure plan, people don't know, is like universal pre-K.
Hmm.
It's
Community
federally
college.
guaranteed community college,
Yeah.
free community college, and family leave, guaranteed family leave,
Hmm.
12 weeks worth, which will help everybody. But
You.
it would be it would be easier for, oh, and make the child tax credit permanent too.
Hmm.
Not permanent, but I think it's extended for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, it's like 2025, I think.
Yeah. So what so but Manchin could just be like, okay, that is spend too much money, and he could kind of finagle that a little bit, as opposed to just packaging it in with the other infrastructure bill.
Hmm.
And he could say, well, we just passed 2 point something trillion. We just passed
Hmm. Hmm.
the 1.9 trillion
Hmm.
American Rescue Plan. It give them more wiggle room. And it's just a bad strategy if you really want it to pass.
It's funny you bring that up, because like Dick Durbin said the exact same thing, and even mentioned, like, people like mention is like why that wouldn't work. It's the same exact. And he's the whip in the Senate, but he was just like, yeah, this splitting it up is going to make it easier for people to defect from voting for the bill. It's stupid, and like you said, it makes you wonder if like there is real desire for this to pass in the White House. I don't know, man. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Let's see. And last thing before we get out of here, I'll let you close us out with this. I know you really wanted to speak on vaccine
Yes.
distribution around the world. You could take us out with this.
Yes. So, you probably been seeing it on the news and stuff, talking about India and how India is becoming like the epicenter of the COVID-19 vaccine crisis right now. And I think they had a record 300,000 cases or something like that a couple of days ago, yesterday. And we don't even know the real number, because India is a very, it's still building up its infrastructure. And so the issue there is that, and I know Biden is sending the not FDA approved AstraZeneca vaccine to India. I think he's sending 60 million vials to them. But the U.S. purchased about 1.3 billion vials of the vaccines in general, from AstraZeneca, from Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson Johnson, and so forth. And we have a lot of them. I just, I'm not saying that we even need to like really give up the vaccines, because I think the nation should have a stock of it. But we had this conversation before, when we talked about these different strains and talking about getting booster shots, and having to get a new vaccine shot for the different strains that are out there that makes this thing now an endemic. It all results back from the decisions we're making right now, which is not giving the global south these vaccines, not distributing to them, or even even in other ways, like not breaking down, not pressuring the World Trade Organization to waive the IP so that these nations can develop the vaccine in their nations and produce it and give it to their people. There is no reason for it other than the strong will of capitalism, ensuring that the people that want to get paid get paid. That being like Pfizer, Moderna, which it's ironically we gave money to Moderna to obviously make the vaccine and stuff. So we're like in this country, I think people are kind of like getting a little bit relieved, even though there's still a strong segment of Americans that don't want to take this vaccine. We're at a point now where some states are like, this demand isn't that high, so we're going to have to give some of this back, because like just isn't that much of a demand anymore for the vaccine, because there's going to be 50 to 100 million Americans that are just like, I'm not taking this vaccine, regardless of race. They want to blame black people, but it's really all races, especially like conservative, Republican, white people. Like that's just the gist of the truth. And so we're going to get to a point now where like nations aren't going to get vaccinated in the global south until like 2024, 2025, because of the actions that we're taking today, which is protecting the IP and interests of the corporations over protecting the world, and ending this global pandemic. It's something that I don't know. I think there's like slow realization of this in the mainstream media, which is why Biden released the 60 million vials to India for the AstraZeneca vaccine a couple of days ago. But it's not enough, man. Like like we really need to like get in these countries and not just, if you don't want to get the stockpile of vaccines we have in this country up, cool. We should like relinquish these like embargoes that we have on the raw materials for vaccines to these countries, which is another thing that's happening. We should also help these countries like build up facilities to produce these vaccines themselves, so that we can have these countries like immunized. And it's really dark and weird, because on the one hand we're saying we're not giving up the IP for these vaccines, but also we're saying that don't take the Cuba vaccine and don't take the Russia vaccine and don't take the China vaccine. We're telling these countries that might be dependent on this also to not do this stuff. And all this is going to do is prolong something that none of us want to be in. We're now about a month and almost 2 months, almost a month and a year and 2 months into like this type of lifestyle we're in right now, which is work from home and not being able to be in like full restaurants, not going to movie theaters, and not doing this stuff. And it doesn't stop by like just closing, just making sure that this country is safe and sound, because people travel across the world as well and pick up this virus and bring it back. I just really hope that there's more emphasis on like the global element of this and how we can stop this globally, especially in the global south, and protecting and getting these people vaccinated in the south, so that we can just try to find some type of normalcy again. Because right now, the way we're moving in this country and the way we're moving in the West, it isn't working. And you're seeing the horrors in India right now. Some African nations are spiking again. Brazil obviously was like a mess. I think Mexico's having their problems too. Even like nations like Canada, they haven't been able to vaccinate their public, which again isn't a story that people are talking about. But Canada's having like a really big issue with vaccinations as well, because of us not like, because of Pfizer and Moderna like charging too much for it, and they're not being able to afford it, and there not being enough of the AstraZeneca vials vaccine and other vaccines around the world. So this is something that we really need to like think about, not just think about, but really make action for, and pressure like our Congress people to say like, listen, y'all need to like do more work on this vaccine thing, to make sure that the rest of the world is taken care of. America, like as a nation, like we're very quick to like walk in with like guns and say this is ours, but we can't do that with like helping other people. And we need to start changing that mindset to really like be a leader in the world, by like going out and helping these nations get vaccinated. So that's just my spiel on it. I mean, I don't know if you have any thoughts on it, but it's just something that like I'm seeing. I'm like, this is like this is going to head into disaster very soon if we don't do something about this, and we're going to have like, this is going to be a permanent pandemic, which nobody wants.
No, I agree with you. I just think instead of the Biden administration trying to reassert American dominance worldwide, this is more the stuff they need to be working on, more Marshall Plan type of stuff. Not even just with the vaccines, but you see the problem at the border. One of the reasons why we have this problem at the border is their countries is totally messed up. I don't want to because of YouTube, but effed up basically. And it goes all the way back from the Monroe doctrine, all the way from back when this country was founded, and what we have done to Latin America. If you really want to help Latin America build up their country, also.
Hold up, you don't. It's not because of what Vice President Harris said, and that they have they treat their LGBT community wrong, and that's why they're coming to America. Because that's what she said yesterday on the phone call to I think it was Guatemala. Yeah. I should have said this beforehand, man. Yeah, it was like she had a phone call with the I think it was the president of Guatemala or Honduras. I can't remember which country it was, but she mentioned that like people are coming to America because of the mistreatment of like the LGBT community, and it's just like, wait a minute.
What?
I'm not joking. I'm gonna send it to you. I'm gonna try to see how you can edit this in there, but she definitely said that.
Okay, I don't get the correlation. That makes
there is no correlation though.
Yeah, that makes absolutely no sense to me. I'm confused of I'm confused about the point in general. What the hell?
There's no correlation. Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say if you want to fight, for rights in Latin America, people that our skin complexion in a lot of these countries get treated like absolutely crap. In a lot of Latin American countries, Afro Latinos, it's highly discriminated against in a lot of these countries. So maybe work to correct that. But then again, the U.S. don't have a lot of room to talk. So maybe we gotta correct our race problem first. And we can work on that. Work on the countries you destroyed in Latin America, and maybe it won't be such a border crisis in the beginning. But anyway, I think this is a pretty good show. Definitely thanks. I gotta go, and
it's all good.
My wife is like, "Hey, I gotta give the baby a bath. Get off the joint." I'm like, all right, chill out.
And we get to hear the president talk in about 30 minutes anyway, so that's gonna be interesting.
I might just read the transcript. I hate hearing Biden talk. It's painful. I'd rather just read. Like, it actually painful to hear a Biden speech. Like, he's like, good God, like he might be the worst presidential speaker I've heard in quite some time. Some time. Bush was pretty bad too.
Trump is terrible.
Well, Trump was bad, but at least Trump and Bush was funny. At least it was entertaining. It was bad, but it was humor. It was kind of humor. Well, Trump wasn't really humorous because what he was saying was just so crazy.
Trump wasn't. Trump is. That's not even. At least Biden. He sounds bad. Trump doesn't have any like real pattern of sentences. Like he doesn't really understand the sentence.
Yeah, but that makes it kind of funny though. Like Biden's speech is like incoherent sometimes. Like he be going all over the place.
That's all.
It's not even funny. So it's just like an old man rambling.
I mean, you're describing Donald Trump, man. I'm sorry.
Hey, don't get me wrong. Trump. It's nothing Trump do that I actually find appealing. So, yeah, hopefully Trump go to jail to prison. Let's dream of a dream. Probably won't happen.
Yeah.
So don't get it twisted. I'm not defending Trump at all.
I didn't say you were. All I'm saying is if you sit down and read a Trump speech and you'll like see what I'm talking about.
Oh, it's bad, but it's kind of fun. It doesn't, but it's kind of funny though, because you're like, okay, count how many times he's gonna say tremendous. Or he's the greatest, or this never happened in history. This never happened in history. First time ever. And just like everything. So it's like it gets to the point. It's so clownish, it's comical.
That's
with
fair.
Biden, it's just like an old man rambling that I'm just like, okay.
That's fair.
I don't want to listen to this. I'm going to read the transcript.
That's all fair. That's all fair.
All right. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, share. Peace.
All right, y'all. Take care.